I guess this is going to roll during the
Opening credits.
Well, then they won't see because there's a thing in front of you.
Yeah.
The train and all that stuff.
Oh, you might want to be aware of potential for overflow. 'Cause
Oh, so safety first. All right, well. Should I French waiter it?
I always put the towel over the thing every time. It's that old restaurant necessity.
Yeah. Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Executive Director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Deputy Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier. All right, so we're opening an R&D beer from a little brewery called Russian River on my last trip. Got you a couple things. I normally don't bring beer back, but here we are.
Brett Saisons were, I had one of them. Delicious.
This is a Brett beer.
Yes.
It's a domesticated wild ale. That's what it says.
Okay. Cool.
So this thing will do your laundry, dishes.
Cookie dinner.
It's a trad wife beer. Oh, God.
I don't know if you're supposed to say that.
I don't think so. I don't know. Get some sound effects there. There you go. Yeah. These guys are professionals, man.
Professional sound effects, guys.
No, the beer.
Yeah.
All right. So that should really set the mood, right?
Yeah. Not packaged for resale. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Bottled in 2019.
At least it's not as cringy as the, piracy kills music. You wouldn't download a car, would you? That was a campaign for a while.
Yeah. 1/11/19. That is a long time ago.
So what are we supposed to be getting out of a
Been
Brett beer?
domesticated for over 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Probably could file for a visa now. So,
I smell Brett.
yeah,
I definitely salivating a lot right now.
right. So, I mean, you get some malt sweetness and what? Fruit? Like apricot, maybe? Nectarine?
Yes. The old stone fruit.
Yeah, well, and then the stone fruit in the taste. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's nice.
We should have sided with Pony Express. Oh, well. We'll never get that beer, will we?
I don't know. It might be years. And there's also, we brought that Brett Saison back
Okay. Yeah.
of theirs. And I want to say Wilderness has a Brett beer on right now. Let me check. Maybe not. I don't know. Whatever.
So I brought that Vino, whatever it is. It's a giant suitcase on wheels, and it has all this foam in it. But it's designed for this size bottle. You can also get wine inserts. I don't think you can get can inserts, but you can't really fit a lot of beer in there, like less than a case.
There's a lot of foam.
There is a lot of
And
foam.
it's a giant bag.
It's probably over protected in some ways. I mean, because even airline travel. But I don't have any incentive to really do anything about it except suck it up. And whenever the rare mood that I know I'm going to either bring beer or take beer is going to happen.
How'd that go on the Wisco trip? Did you bring beer back?
I did not. I brought back some cheese.
Good job.
Did you bring back any cheese or
I
anything?
did not. I brought back popcorn.
Yeah.
a little variety pack of 6 different Wisconsin grown popcorn.
Oh, grown. They grow popcorn out there.
Yeah.
Just right, it pops right off the tree.
No. The kernels. Yes.
it. Yeah.
Got me pulled over in security.
Really, a popcorn.
Yes.
They inspected my cheese curds.
Uh-huh.
They literally held them up to the light. I'm like, what are you doing?
He pulled the popcorn bags out, and then he manhandled each one to make sure there's nothing hiding inside the kernels.
Don't they have an x-ray for that?
I thought they did. I don't know what's up. That's fine. He was like, well, you should have pulled out this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It'll help you get through security faster. And I was like,
No, man.
all right,
I'm
I
good.
promise you I'll never bring 6 pounds of popcorn in my bag again, ever, ever.
The last time I was there, I took a frozen tube of kraut back, and they just went like this, and they said it wasn't frozen enough, and they kept it. I'm like, sauerkraut's a solid. It's packed in a little bit of water, but
It is actually a solid.
I also saw in the store they had liquid kraut, so it's just kind of like minced up. You know how like they can put pickle relish into a squeeze bottle? It's probably just even more mincier than that. I was anxious to maybe try that, but I'm like, what am I going to put this on? A cracker?
Hot dog?
Well, I meant there. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm not going to
at
bring
the
it into
store
a
to
restaurant.
sample it?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know.
I brought my own hot dog. Let
All
me
right.
see some of that liquid kraut.
We're talking about Wisconsin because we were there.
That's right.
I went a little bit early to visit a brewery south of Wisconsin Rapids called Up North. It's somebody I've known for almost 20 years. Started as a homebrewer. He kept his homebrew mainline beer, Lake Walk Pale Ale, one that he shared the recipe with a lot of people. A lot of people I know have brewed it if they were in that era. And so he has that on tap, and he has it on tap at a golf course near his brewery. So that's in less than about a year.
That they opened.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think we're not gonna we'll skip over that and cut right to the reason we were there and the days surrounding, and we'll talk a little bit about the summit itself. I know we call it a retreat, but it's not really a retreat. It's
I
a
never
summit.
call it a retreat. I call it a conference,
Yeah,
but it's officially called a summit. Yeah.
yeah, and then we'll talk a little bit about the goings on, goings out, and I think there's a difference in the drinking experience in Wisconsin for a bunch of reasons. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. We can do this sort of chronologically, or I don't know if you want to talk about the purpose of what is the purpose of the summit? Why were we
Sure.
there? Yeah.
So the summit is the Guild Summit produced by the Brewers Association. They bring some speakers. The Guild subcommittee of the Brewers Association creates a bunch of topics and recruits some speakers, whether they're professional from outside the industry, Brewers Association employees, and Guild executive directors.
Right.
All give their takes on different topics.
Right, and it's the Brewers Association in conjunction with the Guilds and Associations subcommittee, which is spearheaded by our friend Paul Leone, and there are other members on that. I think Mary from Ohio, Noreen from Iowa was asked to do a lot of presentations, so assume that she's getting more involved. They got Lori Ajax from the California Craft Brewers Association, a very large, very uniquely structured guild with a different history than most of us, but she managed to contribute to a discussion on finding your voice in a board. One would presume that with the background she had that she was going to step in, but she talked about her struggle and with it and how she's come to make that relationship work. And so there is a lot more in common with us than one might expect.
She is a organization that has many staff.
Yeah. And a transportation issue in that, they literally have to fly to hit other parts of the state effectively or go on a several week journey. But she came from the liquor department there,
Right.
and also was head of writing the rules for cannabis
too.
as a government agency. So doesn't necessarily come from the beer side at all. And so,
From the brewing side.
yeah,
Right.
right. So I guess we could just jump into that. They did a pretty good discussion. Like I forget that we're in Arizona. We're fortunate that I've been around for a long time, but every time I've brought a member to any of these functions, they've had a little bit of experience, and so it's always been a thing that our organization has supported sending in as many individuals to these things as possible, including like the hill climb and CBC and all that stuff. So,
And every time we can do that, we learn so much from the other guild staff.
right. It's like every comment, someone is scribbling a note because like, oh, I could try that. Or, oh, that reminds me of something else I want to talk about. For people understanding why our association is different than most is we have a controlled substance in beer, an intoxicating product that is enjoyed by people who work in the industry, and so there are challenges with that. We have the ability to raise
You mean
money
as
through,
a trade association?
yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm sure
Most highly regulated product in the world.
right. I'm sure there is a canned vegetable trade organization. I don't think they just eat canned corn all day during their events. But there's that. We have the ability to fundraise, which we lean on more than any other trade association, I would imagine. And
The old saying of, hey, do you see the Accountants Trade Association having a bake sale?
right.
No, you don't.
No.
Come out to a field. We'll do your taxes.
Right. Yeah.
And that's obviously that's somewhat rude of me to say, but here we are.
No, it's not. I say there's no Great American Dry Cleaning Festival. I don't know. Maybe there is a big dry cleaning.
I'm sure they have a conference. I don't know what their
craft
trade
dry cleaning.
association.
Oh, they do. John
together.
Hall looked it up when I was on his show. He was
Okay.
like, looked it up while we were bantering.
Everybody
Yeah.
has conferences.
Yeah, but I guess the thing that was really driven home to me is like, yes, this isn't running a brewers association guild or a association or guild is different than running a beer business. And your board is comprised of some owners, some salespeople, some brewers. It could be it could be a major investor. It could be all kinds of other people that the brewery decides that that's someone we want to have as our representative, and from that comprise the board. But there's not a necessarily one-to-one relationship in running a business and running a nonprofit organization, which was
very different. Yeah.
which was also driven home by we had one of our colleagues.
Did you know? Little trivia note for you,
Okay,
Rob.
yeah.
We have 9 board members, correct?
Yes,
7 of them are owners.
nice.
Yeah.
That's I didn't do the math on that.
I
It
just
hasn't
did it
always
sitting at the table listening to this.
right. So yeah, it's not always been the case though.
Absolutely. Sure.
I just I'm gonna jump to the next day just because it followed my train of thinking. But we had one of our colleagues, Sherry Kepsel from the Michigan Guild, talk about accounting and how accounting is very much different than for nonprofits than it is for any other business, and even your accountants don't necessarily have all the skill set to necessarily do all your tax work. We're fortunate in that we do have somebody who does. They do have a nonprofit
Division.
that we work with. So we do not have a bookkeeper, but we do have a CPA that specializes in that, and that's why we're able to mess our books up every once in a while
And then they'll fix it. It is nice of them.
But
It's
we
true.
don't have a strong financial tradition in this organization. I would say that Like,
We
don't-
haven't had anyone as a staff member who is
proficient or
good at accounting
Yeah.
things. So we rely on our CPAs more than other groups might.
right. There was a session put on by Carolyn from Texas about running competitions. I think they had one of the longer running guild sponsored originating competitions.
And huge.
Yeah, huge. And so I've actually heard her predecessor Charles do this talk, and it was what informed me when we did decide to pull the trigger a couple years ago on having our Arizona Craft Beer Awards, and we were able to chime in there. I'm surprised you didn't say very much during there. You're working on that right now.
Yeah, I am. And some of the things that she talked about will be great for next year. A lot of, and I already read their,
Yeah, they put out their materials.
yeah,
They
share with us.
They're large enough that they can write their own categories, and they support more categories. And
They have
that's-
31 categories, and each of those categories have full specs,
Right.
just like the Brewers Association categories.
right. We use the Brewers Association guidelines, and we judge by whatever you enter. But we have the ability. We have to roll those up into broader categories, and we don't have instructions for those broader categories per se. But it's just
Correct.
It's just
You can use the category from the BA that
Mm-hmm.
you would like to have your beer judged to,
right.
and then put it under an umbrella of these are IPAs, hazy IPAs,
Yeah.
session IPAs, and under session IPA, you're going to have pale ale,
Yeah.
and you're going to have the session IPA name and other beers that would be
Right.
lower alcohol but with more hop presence.
Any international version of pale.
Exactly.
And it's just, even at 100 and so entries, the chances are you're going to get somebody who enters a category and there's either one or two or three, and that's really not enough to
Correct.
to judge it as a category and substyle. So it is kind of chicken and egg. I know the brewers want to know what we're.
I gave an outline
yeah.
of 13 categories,
Yeah.
and they get to choose which one it is,
Yep.
with the caveat that we may have to reassign it based on the entries. Because if I get 800 entries in IPA,
Yeah. It's
I
gonna be
might want to cut that down and like separate it into different categories.
Right. Right.
And if I only get one brown ale, one porter, and one red, those might have to be comboed up and see which one fits their category best. And
Right. A lot of the what I was hearing from feedback in terms of a lot of them do use hotels, so they're paying a lot of catering.
for the competitions
Yeah.
in other states, yep.
Right. And so I chimed in and said, hey, we have this great partnership with a food distributor, and they just do it for a trade. So
Other people suggested distributor space as well, which
yeah,
is dicey.
Yeah, I think
Because
it's
if
dicey.
your cans enter that distributor's warehouse,
there might be a question as to whether they enjoy some franchise protection for the distributor, not for the brewery. Not for the brewery.
right? And if you have another distributor and you
Yeah.
bring your beer over to the opposing distributor, I guess you might say, then have you broken your contract?
Yeah.
So rather than deal with all those nuances, we go to a non-licensed venue.
Right. I
We're
would tell
not
you
selling
if I
anything.
was a distributor and it was in my house, I would be on the phone putting the screws to every one of my breweries
Breweries.
that can possibly enter,
To get
To
as many
win.
in as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
so that you can hang your crown on the fact that your distributor represents these great brands. And it's just by sheer pushing in the numbers, not necessarily how it would work out. So we definitely don't want that. We don't want that at all. So
I would like
Or even the
someone to
perception of
pressure
that.
breweries to enter as many beers as possible.
that is true. They
I
be
would
doing
still
that of
like
their
their
own
distributor
accord.
to be like, hey.
Right. We had a discussion about unions,
Oh,
and that was it started out a little slow burn, but there were a lot of people that didn't understand the practices by employees that are also practices that are protected by the federal government are the same. So whether you're in a union or not, you have protections for collective action. And
You don't have to have a formal
right.
union in place to be afforded the same protections under the NLRA.
Yeah. National Labor Relations Act.
Oh,
And
you were the one with the degree in this.
I know.
And then the presenter was a labor and employee attorney from a firm in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Quarles and Brady.
Big firm.
Anyway, the takeaway for anyone who's in the brewing industry that's an owner is if there is organizing behavior, you definitely need to get legal advice.
Whether you support it or don't support it, you still need to have legal advice.
The act of asking who might be involved in organizing is a violation.
Yes, you can't even say who's running this thing.
Right. So there are nuances to it, and if I would just say that I don't see it happening as much in our industry, but it very much could. But they are targeting very small business units.
One of the reasons that they said that it's difficult to organize in the hospitality space is because of turnover. So if you have higher turnover, it's difficult because it takes a long time to put together a organizing group and then get 50% plus one votes.
Right. So some of them are doing very small business units with the understanding that they hope the publicity of that gets them to get other even adjacent industries or any industry to consider it. So they talked about a 3-person trucking team that voted for a union in a right to work state. And in one case, they had a small unit like that. It was an employee-owned company, so they still are subject to that.
Right. So within a larger group, just one small division of that company officially got a union. What's it called?
Well, they have an election.
Right.
They sign union cards. You have to get 50 or 60% to even justify an election.
And they got 3 out of 3.
Yeah. So they were, So, I don't know. It's just something to be aware of. And a lot of this is sprung from dissatisfaction during COVID and or people's concerns about healthcare and all that other stuff. So, the other takeaway is be a good employee, communicate well,
be a good employer.
Try employer. Sorry, yeah. Try to be a good communicator. Don't do things that are difficult for people who work there to understand the rationale for stuff like
Transparency is always helpful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they force transparency.
We talked about legal issues with Mark Cerini, the counsel for the Brewers Association.
Legal issue, primarily franchise law.
Yeah, although that was the longest part of his talk, and he went through various. It was centered around because people ask, well, why doesn't someone just sue? Why doesn't a state sue under the Commerce Clause or equal protection of the law? He went through some of those arguments. I had heard those years ago. I didn't think there was anything new. There really wasn't. So it was a different take on the same talk, and it didn't really get a lot of questions. What really did get a lot of questions is hemp and all the nuances to it. But we've talked about that on this show, what the issues are. But it was interesting to hear different states react and say where their breweries stand on this issue. It was interesting for states surrounding Minnesota, what their expectation was. Illinois is getting closer to what Minnesota's doing. And I don't know. There's
Wisconsin?
Well,
you could buy THC in breweries there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was...
It seemed to be more of an ignore
Right.
it for a while. stance from the
I mean,
legislature.
they're saying, hey, nothing says we can't do it, so I'm going to do it. And
Right.
that's where Arizona stands right now.
Yeah, except for the statement by the Attorney General.
Right.
But
I can make a statement tomorrow, too.
I received
Hers probably does hold a little more
after
weight.
her statement, I received in the mail a case of THC beverages that I did not have
Yes.
to sign for.
That's right.
So I do this not to thumb my nose at the law, but to get an understanding of where things really sit.
Well, also, you know, there are organizations who have the kind of money to force the issue
Yeah.
that may want to do that for, you know, capitalistic reasons.
Yeah. So
The other thing that I wanted to bring up about the franchise law is that many times in conversations with brewers and in conversations with laypersons, there is confusion about the three-tier system and franchise law. And a lot of people think it's the same when
Yeah.
it's not the same. You can have a healthy, vibrant three-tier system and not have franchise law because
that exists in the food industry.
it exists in many industries
Right.
and it can happen. And it should be able to happen in the beer industry if there is enough motivation on the part of the stakeholders, i.e., potentially retail, but also breweries and suppliers,
Yeah.
to say we don't want franchise to overrun our business. That doesn't mean you can walk all over your distributor by any means.
Right. The 3-tier system is not a law. It's a structure. So that various laws are framed on. It's a theory about how this should work. So there is no law. You don't repeal the 3-tier system.
Right.
You have to individually take down some of the major laws. But if it were to magically leave, right, in the way that people think, breweries would have to probably become more involved in their logistics. They would have to, like independent breweries that are self-distribution, if they wanted to participate in the way that they think they wanted to participate, every small brewery that wants to put their stuff in any chain off-premise would have to have trucks and employees
And
and merchandisers.
And according to the state of Arizona, they could not merchandise themselves
Well-
unless they had a wholesaler's license.
Right. Well, that's as it stands now. But
Yeah.
and retailers would have to spend more time vetting products because the distributors will then shrink the number of things that they will be responsible for. So you're going to have more meetings, and it's not going to be, and because it's there's going to be more participants in this. The whole, hey, what can you do for me lately, distributor? I need with your hand out from a retailer. That would probably come under much more scrutiny because you'd have more players involved, and there would be more people who come from different equity bases that, you know, they're not going to fight fire with fire. They're going to open their mouths up and say, hey, that guy's not selling to me because I can't give him an umbrella. I don't even make umbrellas.
Yeah.
So it's not the utopia that everyone thinks it might be.
It's not, I mean, anyone
Yeah.
who thinks it's going to be utopia is sadly uninformed,
Yeah.
I think. Like, that is not a great solution for the majority of our breweries because no one wants to deliver to 80 different locations every week.
No.
Like, that's craziness. You would never make any money.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I've been to a couple places where they do see individual sales rep and they do have deliveries coming from smaller breweries, and like it gets stacked up. Like there's like literally, you know, 6 reps milling around, you know, waiting for their turn. So I mean, it's not to say that they don't find it valuable. It's not, you know, a transactional thing, but that's the other side of it, right?
And the point was, the 3-tier system is not the same thing as franchise law. Franchise law, they use like the Jimmy John's example.
Yeah.
Like, oh, owning a brewery and owning a Jimmy John's is the same, huh?
No. Yeah. So there was a talk with Mary and Paul about structuring board retreats. We haven't really had a board retreat in this organization. At this point, it seems to be very difficult to get 7 to 9 people to be able to take an entire day off, because that's what we're talking about. I would love to do it.
A day is pretty generous because you have to keep in mind travel time.
Yeah.
And if you want to start at 9,
Yeah.
good luck, unless they're all in the same building to start, right?
Yeah. So
I'd love to do a board retreat.
I would.
It's
I would as
very
well.
expensive.
It can be. Yeah.
How can it be cheap? Did I miss that part?
It can be inexpensive. Yeah. I mean, basically, if you consider that our summit was put on low cost.
It's still very expensive.
Yeah. No, I mean, but the scope is people coming from all parts of the country. So
Sure.
I think there was like a $30,000 budget. The meeting spaces were free. The catering costs, but I think because it's rolled into the setup days ahead of Great Taste of the Midwest. So the caterers already have agreements with the organization, the homebrew club that does Great Taste. So like, it's not like they had to start from scratch is all.
Mm-hmm. And one lunch was sponsored by Quarles.
Yeah. And then one event was by Belter Glassware, who, by the way, I said, "Oh, hey, I heard you make all my decisions for me." That was somebody from there said, "Oh, yeah, I already found the guy that answers all your emails and makes all your decisions for you." I'm like, "All right." I think that's a backhanded compliment.
I did say I answer emails faster than Rob. I did say that.
Yeah. Well, I told her other folks on her staff. I said other salespeople. I said it's already a done deal. It's just a question of when.
We just have to get it. We have to get our art. And they were like, "We can help with art." I thought,
no,
yes.
I don't want them to help with the art.
I know I don't want them to, but if we want to do it.
Yeah. The best part of the 2 days, we're talking about.
Oh my gosh. You're going right to the best part?
Well, I mean, it was the last thing, which was small policy wins. And that is what we do as an organization. We don't go for the big home run. We have occasionally, but we play small ball here. We get on base and we move runners. That's what we do, because we seem to get 1 or 2 favorable things a year, even if it's not originated by us. We show our support and we push it through the omnibus process. Speaking of small ball, I'm wearing my baseball shirt. We are meeting with Justin today, Justin Heminger, which you might have heard the show prior to this. He's actually doing his makeup game.
Yes, that's right.
We're very excited.
When you say small ball and small policies, my favorite example that I use almost all the time is when growlers were legally mandated to be made out of glass.
Yeah.
It's the easiest one for people to understand.
Yeah.
When I say growlers had to be made out of glass, they couldn't be stainless steel, they couldn't be ceramic, they couldn't be anything other than glass.
There couldn't be aluminum growlers.
It couldn't be anything.
Yeah.
So getting that changed is one of the more basic things that we've done, but it also was a big impact.
Yeah. Well, and we had a big bill with expanding the production cap, but underneath that was the ability to have breweries sell other breweries' beer up to 20%. And
before that, if you had done a collab between Brewery A and Brewery B, and you did it at Brewery B's place, you could not sell that beer at Brewery A.
Right.
Because it was produced at B. So being able to do that is also great for the community, great for small businesses, great for everything.
Right. So that's the highlights of our summit. We definitely might have occasion to talk about other things that happened, but it's really, I think there was 28 states or something like that, 25 states, 30-ish people, something like that. So it's a good cross section. We had some very new directors. There was one who was only 2 weeks from Arkansas, Karen.
Yeah.
I had, I hung out with CJ from New Hampshire quite a bit. She's just like around 9 years.
She's so smart.
Yeah,
Ugh.
she's great. And of course, Shawnee from Colorado hasn't been the director as long, but she's been in the organization for about 9 years. I had some great conversations with him. I tend to gravitate towards the class of 13 and surrounding years because that's when I got involved. And you have your own cohort group, I guess, more or less. Like, you have your own crew.
I'm always, and this happened when I was in homebrewing too. Like someone new, like someone who's there, and the feeling of I don't really know what's going on. I don't know anyone.
Right.
I don't have this history of being at events with them.
Right.
So I always kind of bring in the newbies and be like, hey.
Yeah. Well, immediately out of the gate, you found somebody.
Yeah, before. So Utah had a new director that started, or she hasn't even actually gotten the job offer yet.
Oh.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, they're in the contract negotiating process.
Okay.
And the former director, Terry, said, hey, when you go, make sure and talk to staff and introduce her to people. So
Right. So that's what you did. In fact,
that's what we did.
I picked you up because I had a car, and you brought Stephanie along, and there was it's the crazy college plan that just might work, but in this case it didn't. We were trying to make it to New Glarus.
It was so close.
New Glarus, for anyone who's listening that has intentions of going, is only open from 9 to 5 weekdays. There are no weekend hours.
11 to 5.
11 to 5?
Monday through Friday.
Yeah. So
No weekends, no evenings.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm going to say that that's one of the things that contributes to them not being a target for unionization. Because they're a manufacturing brewery more than a hospitality brewery. Because they have one of the largest distribution footprints in one state. In several areas, Spotted Cow outsells Miller Lite. So with that, I'm almost positive it's a Deb Carey decision to say, hey, we're working 9 to 5. We're only open to the public for these hours. It's in a very distinct part of the brewery. Go home, enjoy your weekends, and I'm sure they have teams that do festivals. Obviously, they had a festival.
A giant festival team there.
Yeah.
But
So in the past, they would be open on Friday, and for their new releases that they were going to bring the Great Taste, and I think that just got to be too much. So we didn't end up doing it, but they booted it to another park, and we could have went to that but we were distracted by other things. They moved the event from New Glarus, the brewery.
I think it was to another bar.
No, it was in a park.
Oh.
It was outdoors. I think, it would have been fun. I didn't really.
I missed out on a lot of fun, huh?
No, there was just too much going on. But we did end up going to the memorial, the commemoration of Elvis breaking up a fight.
That's true.
As he drove from Dubuque, Iowa, he pulled his.
We could have made it to New Glarus. I landed about half an hour early.
Yeah.
But then I had to wait half an hour to get a gate.
Yes.
And we ended up being a few minutes late from our arrival, even though our plane got there very early.
Yes. So had you been able to get out before 3:00,
we may have rocketed over.
Yeah. It's about an hour from
the airport.
Yeah. And it's only like 35 minutes from other parts of the city, but it's not that far. It's just Madison is the main part of Madison, the business area, the university, the state capital, are in a literal bottleneck, and that it's on an isthmus between Mendota and Monona and lakes, and so you kind of have to take these, and they don't have an interstate bypass. They don't have a 202 or 101 like we do.
If they had something that went over, that little part, that would have really cut down 20 minutes.
Yeah, but it was not to be, and it was not to be. Not to be for any. All of our stuff
totally
effectively got us out too late to make it. So.
Right? Yeah, that was all right. Everything was fine.
But I put it in their heads in 2 years that was something that we did in the past. We did
A specific.
We did get on a
junket.
bus, and then we did our other second day there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. They also have a very cool Capitol, which I toured, and you can use the assembly rooms there, like we have done here for our guild in our state capitol. Truck Bicycle, I'm sure, has a cafeteria that we could use. Truck bicycles are all over the United States. There are other. I mean, the university itself, for gosh sake, probably could carve up a
Find
room
a
or
space,
something.
sure.
So there's a lot of opportunity there. I would like to come to Flagstaff, Arizona. Shh. But we'll see. I think it's going to be tough to beat what they offer there in Madison.
Yeah, the travel part to Flagstaff becomes difficult just because there's no weekend where Flagstaff is slow or inexpensive.
No, I know. Well, and it is decidedly it's hard to move the point in time that it occurs at this point. So, like with anything, it's not just location; it's the time. That being said, like that capital area, where the state capital is, it is surrounded by a lot of businesses. It's surrounded by a university. People can march to it in four directions. Like
That
it
was
is
wild.
It is built for
Community gathering. That's where the farmers market was. It was all the way around the grounds of the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Like the buildings in the center and all the grass around was the whole farmers market.
But there are things that, tell us that in that state, the powerful player is the Tavern League. It's definitely not the brewers, and it's less so the distributors in some cases. First of all, bartenders can drink and serve in Wisconsin.
You bet they can.
You can be tipped in drinks.
How nice.
Bar dice, very very prevalent in that
I picked up a bar die. Yes.
Yeah. Shake a day.
I don't know. It was a giant wood one though. It was like this big.
Oh no. The game, like it's like Yahtzee. You get one shake and there's a giant pot.
Hey.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
I used to play regular bar dice for drinks, and the beers are all drinks are relatively inexpensive.
True.
People were like, "Oh my God, you can get a Bell's Two Hearted for $5."
A pint.
Yeah. There was $1.50 PBR bottles, right? Food was inexpensive. So how do you get those costs down? You have a very powerful
Tavern League
and alcohol lobby, right? I don't know that that's ideal for the
Every
expansion
state.
of breweries
Sure.
either.
No.
It doesn't favor them.
No, it
per
does not.
se. I went to this place. I went twice actually, but I wanted to focus on bar pizzas, which are generally frozen pizzas.
Yeah.
But they're cooked. They're thin crust. They're sliced, square cut, not triangle cut. So I went to this place called Buses. They apparently make their own, but they're still frozen. They're just so that they are efficient. I didn't realize this. I did know this, but not to the extent. Frozen pizzas were invented in Wisconsin.
We learned that.
Yeah, and it was because of the cheese farmers. They wanted to sell more cheese, and you can freeze cheese, but you can also freeze cheese on a pizza. So
Yeah. So if you're relying on going to restaurants for pizza, the cheese lobby, the cheese innovation unit said, how about we put cheese pizza in people's houses?
Yeah. So there is a co-op called Woodman's. They are kind of a warehousey type of grocery store. They also have liquor store units, but I went to see firsthand the largesse of pizzas, frozen pizzas. There are 75 full cooler doors, full of pizzas.
75 cooler doors of different pizzas.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't even count the well freezers. There was probably 6 or 8 of those. Yeah. And like, not only the typical Tombstone size that you used to, I think that's 12-inch. Like they had the 9-inch ones, and you could buy a sleeve of 9-inch ones. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it is a thing. They are, they're surprisingly very, very good. Like,
they are very good for taking care of business.
yeah. I mean, if you're just used to Arizona frozen pizzas, I mean, Jack's, Trade Winds, those kinds of, not the gourmet ones that come in a box, because those are not, I don't think
Those
are
aren't
the
the
same.
kind they use in restaurants.
No.
No.
Yeah. So, I went there. We went to Starkweather, a
Correct.
brewery, and they had some. So I had a pizza there with Stephanie.
Right?
You had wings.
That's right.
Um,
Found out that you're a Flapper fan.
yeah, I don't like drummies as much. So when it's all drummies, I just can't do it. You can't use the technique, the one-handed eat wing technique.
Really, it is more difficult with a drummy. That's true.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Put this lollipop in your mouth? and
Right.
Scrape it? No.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
What did you have? Did you have curds? Cheese curds, because that's what everybody wants.
I had fried cheese curds one day somewhere, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's fried cheese. Okay.
Yeah. It's like pretty prevalent now. So I don't know. Like people are like, oh, they have the best. Like but the difference between the best and pretty good is really tough to quantify.
I'm not on a search for the best cheese curds ever.
Yeah.
I'm really not down for fried
Did you
food
go
that much.
Did you
so
go to the old fashioned?
I didn't go to the old fashioned.
The old fashioned is on the Capitol Square. It has been a popular place for us to go. It has gotten so busy and so touristy. It's difficult. You have to go there in off hours. It's still worth going to, by the way. I mean, you're going to get a full variety of old fashioned cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get. They also, like, I don't know, Food Network, best cheese curd. So that's why everyone's there now.
Oh boy.
Which I had because I got it as a side. I got a sloppy Joe. Yeah, sloppy Joe.
Why not?
I also had a BLT with the heirloom tomato sandwich, pretty good. But they also had ice cream drinks, which is something that is a Wisconsin thing for
I
sure.
saw a lot of those.
I had a grasshopper. Other ones that you can get are Pink Squirrel, Brandy Alexander. Yeah, very popular ice cream drinks.
That's neat.
Yeah,
We went to Paradise. That was fine.
dive bar.
Dive bar. Everyone is having $1.50 PBRs
Yeah, PBRs.
or Miller High Lifes.
Could be both. I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't have any of them.
I didn't have to buy any of those because someone pops down $25 and whatever, we're off to the races.
I bought one and then I left and went over somewhere else and I had a brandy old fashioned.
Another thing that was cool that I didn't. This is on the craft beer side, on the brewery side. We went to Working Draft. They had just come off of their Czech beer weekend, so they had a bunch of their Czech style beers and other Czech beers from other breweries. And when we went there, they did Treber brats, which are brats of various things, and they're cooked in the spent grain of a brew.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, except I think they were really, really spent because there wasn't a lot of sweet flavor from it.
Good.
No, I don't know.
Extract all that
Yeah,
sugar for
yeah.
your beer, man.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
So when they serve it, like there are,
Spent grains all over the.
yeah,
Huh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean, they can get in your teeth, but
yeah, it's something that I haven't seen here. I've seen Dovetail do that in Chicago. I just haven't seen it make its way out here. So, hint, hint.
here's a new opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Take those spent grains, put them in a freezer, have a big brat party. Maybe I have to go Thursday to the brat house. Maybe I can share that with them.
They also at Working Draft they had Lego night, which sounded really intriguing. I have not seen that anywhere else.
Games night, yeah. Lego specifically, no.
Yeah. I guess it's like they do suggestions. You have teams. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Make a llama.
Yeah, put like 3 things up on a board and say, okay,
Right.
go.
I don't know.
Round 1, make a llama.
Yeah. The last time we were there, 2 years ago, they had a celebration for bringing the newsprint magazine back, the Isthmus, which would be kind of like the New Times. They'd just come back after COVID. And this time we were there, they had women collegiate athlete leaders. So
Celebration of that?
it was an organization.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like, walk in, some very tall, athletic women greet you. That's not bad, like a pretty good event. You can pull that off. I mean, makes women feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Makes all guys smile. No, good to see people. It's good to see that place, fulfill its community-based mission, well, on a Wednesday or whatever it was.
Cool.
What else do we want to talk about? Any specific places? Is there somewhere that you went? We did go to a supper club, Toby's again.
I avoided it again.
Yeah.
We went to Lone Girl Brewing Company, where I really wanted to go. They had a Milwaukee Brewers themed logo shirt that I thought was so bomb, but it came out in March, so I didn't have a real good feeling they'd have any left.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was a large, 2 mediums, and a small left, so I grabbed one of those mediums, and we had some beers there, and they were having a pre-great taste event.
So I was sort of brought in again to do the dinner at the supper club because I had set that up 2 years ago after Great Taste. Because to me, we had been in everyone's company. We had seen all the places we wanted to see, and I wanted to take them away from the crowds of
beer drinkers
and brewers and everybody.
Show you some authentic Wisconsin.
Because they get in on Friday generally, and they don't have enough time to hit all the places. So all the places that you would expect people would go
Breweries.
to hit pretty hard.
Sure.
So I took them on the other side of the lake a couple of years ago, and I found there's 3 or 4 on that side of the lake, and I picked one that was kind of far out, but it's called Toby's, and you get there, and the bar is it's slammed, but you can drink at the bar. You can stand around, but they'll take your order while you're waiting, and when you are seated, your salads are placed. Everything's placed. So there is an efficiency to that. So when you put your name in, things are going to happen.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah. So I was asked if I was going to do that again, and I'm like, well, Chloe, who works under Paul, was just pushing it really hard.
She was very
and
insistent.
she was lobbying it
Yes.
for days, and so I'm like, all right, we'll do it again. I kind of wanted to actually go down the street to another one, but all right, we'll do Toby's again. It was fine. And then so we went to a bar called the Muskie Lounge.
Oh, we sure did.
Muskie Lounge.
Muscalonge and something.
Yeah. We left early because I was looking at the thing, and she's like, I called it's 45 minutes. I'm like, I don't think so. I went there. They're like, it's an hour and a half. So I had,
At the supper club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all worked out because in the end it was about the same as it normally would take but we had to put in our order, and then we had to put an order for another 5-top. They ended up putting us together. So that's the beauty of it. Like, if they have all the information, they can, because I said, we'll do two 5-tops. They don't even have to be close to each other if you can't work it out. But I had to order for everybody at that table. So I'm like, and I'm like,
what kind of menu does this?
Oh yeah. So the what a supper club is I've heard shorthand. It's a redneck country club, or it's But it's really generally started as something in the 50s and 60s where it was generally on the outskirts of town, and that you would go there to celebrate something, and you could count on it to have inexpensive drinks and
Live music.
Sometimes.
Okay.
And that you would be able to get a special meal. So generally steaks and seafood, even if it's out of season, that was where you would get your surf and turf dinner. So like if your kid got a good report card, like you could go there, have a Brandy Alexander, have something that you wouldn't do.
Served them.
Just something you wouldn't do, right? And this is before the availability of fast food and kids in bars or tap rooms, and it was kind of an adult night out, but also it was somewhat friendly, fancy enough that your kids would behave, right?
Right.
So
right.
that's what the origin is. But yeah, they had a lot of lake caught fish, which is something that a lot of people don't have access to. Surprisingly, it's mostly saltwater based fish that people are used to. So they had perch, walleye,
Muskies,
bluegill, no muskies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't. Those have to be wild caught. I don't think there's any muskie farms. Although northern pike you can get, which is a similar type of fish. So I had bluegill and steak. Other people got steak. CJ got a giant piece of fried chicken. She says, I was like, this is like one of the best ones she had ever. So
That's
I don't know.
great.
I'm like, all right.
That's cool. Bringing joy.
Yeah. And you'll get your, sometimes you'll get what's called a relish tray in Wisconsin, but it's just vegetables, but it's generally like literally stalks of green onions.
Yeah.
And, that you eat with salt, and radishes, carrots, celery, pickles. You get that, and of course your baked potato you get it loaded.
Sure.
So it's a good value, man.
We ended up back at the Great Dane.
Yeah.
We went downtown. Like you said, everything was going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So we went to Lone Girl, decided we didn't want to eat there, and went back downtown. Went into a few places and oh no, long wait. Oh no, long wait. Went back to the Great Dane, and although they had a long wait, we snuck into the bar and found a few seats.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I had quinoa, sweet potato,
Yeah.
broccoli, carrot, tofu.
Right.
Yeah, my style. I like that.
You went.
Eating at a supper club, having steak at a supper club is not my jam.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, I mean, and I didn't go on the boat trip this year. I did in years past, but not this time. I thought, to me, it was a little long. And there were enough people who had motion sickness or just didn't feel like they had the appropriate attire for that kind of a outing.
I don't know what that means, but we had 4 boats, so that was cool.
I heard you took on some water in one of the boats. That's what I'm
Ours started taking a little water on, too. We were the first, well,
there are people who just don't.
whatever.
want to
And it wasn't no one sank.
No, but
taking on water.
Well, no, some people are comfortable with their shoes off, and you got
Yeah,
wet
or
shoes.
they're scared they're gonna die because they don't know how boats work. All those things, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't go, and we were the drylanders. We figured it out. We did some stuff, but I didn't make it to. I did make it to the tribute to Otis Redding. His plane crashed into Lake Monona,
Oh my.
and he died along with most of his band. And there's a memorial on the top of Monona Terrace, so I got to do that before everyone got there. But
Cool.
yeah, didn't get to the Mustard Museum. I have a bunch of on the map I build. I had a bunch of Frank Lloyd Wright houses that you could kind of drive by or walk by, but just didn't have time.
I think I want to take my dad back there for a little trip.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
He likes New Glarus. I like to go to New Glarus.
Yeah,
Take your map and go to some of those
Yeah.
random things. Share it with him. Say which ones do you want to see. That'd be awesome.
yeah. And if you get a chance to go, we can talk about it in depth later.
Stay at the Holiday Inn Express.
It's not bad.
They were wonderful.
Yeah. they allowed you to drink in the lobby till 2 a.m.
They had a cutoff. I think
that's-
they would have let you drink
I
as
think
long as
that's
you
the-
wanted.
I think that's the liquor license cutoff. I mean, they had supposed to have quiet times after 10
10,
o'clock, but
yeah.
like we were fucking loud. I guarantee you. But I mean, I'm sure like
Everyone there was loud. It
on,
was
on
all the-
another weekend it may not be as late, but you could buy until 2. You could buy from their cooler,
Yeah.
and they had all new Lyris and
They
other
had-
beers.
They had a whole bunch of beers there. Yeah. I got a strawberry rhubarb because
Wow, you're
I
gonna
don't
get a
know
bottle
why.
of that?
No, and I wasn't gonna. So I just gave it to Steph, and I was like, "Share this, bye." I can't do anything with it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good trip for you and your dad. If you get a little time, Stevens Point is not too far. The second oldest continuously operating brew house is there. Point Brewing Company. I went to Central Waters. I stayed in an Airbnb above a bakery.
Sounds nice.
But it's for another time, man.
Okay.
We're running late, and
We are. We gotta go.
we gotta go see some baseball
Yes.
and talk to Justin.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah. All right.
Any idea who they're playing?
A team that's going to lose.
That's right. That's right. All right. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. No tagline. No tag.